Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ben's Friends podcast. Today on the podcast, we had a great friend of mine. He's actually my brother, Josué Valdez. We had a chance to sit down and talk to Josué about this journey he's been on his entire life, starting from an orphanage at the age of 2 in Lima, Peru, to the transition of becoming an American, moving to a whole new country, and really just changing his entire lifestyle. And we get a chance to talk about how unique his experiences were at this orphanage in Peru and pretty much the entire development of who Josué is today. So it's a really interesting listen. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Show's starting. The show's starting. Shh. Show's starting. Shut up. The show's starting. Shut up.
It's Ben's Friends podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are live. Welcome, Josué. I'm excited to have you on. My brother from Peru. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think you have a very interesting story. And I've been thinking a lot about it lately because things are so crazy in the US right now. And I'm like, man, I wonder if Josué ever envisioned any of this going down when he, came to America. And so, I'd like to get into that a little more. So if you don't mind, I like to ask my guests, who's Josué? What's your story? Just a brief little background of, if you could sum your life up in a couple words.
Josué is basically, well, first of all, originally from Peru. Obviously I came here, I was added to your family. So I'm that guy. To many people, yeah, to many people, I'm, a musician friend. I do a lot of music with people. To some other people, I'm their volleyball friend. That's what we do. And for the most part, I'm the guy working with his dad, running a business, trying to make it successful for the most part, learning a lot through the process, and trying to have fun and live life to the fullest. That'd be probably how I would say it.
Well, so I think that gives us a pretty good idea of who you are. But I think your story is really unique because of where you come from. And that kind of sets the tone for everything. And so you're from Peru, Lima, Peru. Is Lima the capital? I think it is, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I don't know if it was one of those like obvious ones that's like not right for some reason. Like,
No, yeah.
But yeah, so you're from Lima. You grew up in an orphanage. So why were you an orphan? I mean, obviously you're my brother, and I know you had a family in the past and that stuff, but I don't really know. I've never heard from you. Why were you in an orphanage, and what age did you start living in an orphanage?
Well, to start with, I would clarify, it was an orphanage, but I actually still have, my parents, my blood parents are still alive in Peru. But let's see, why was I in an orphanage, or a children's home as many people would call it? Well, my parents made a lot of mistakes, I guess. They liked to, do drugs, especially maybe cocaine a lot. Probably very, just having fun, not thinking about their responsibilities. So obviously those things have consequences. One of them was that I ended up in a children's home when I was 2 years old, along with my sister. We were just kind of dropped off, and, someone didn't want to be responsible for us. They wanted to do what they were doing for fun and, live their life. So I ended up at a Christian children's home, and that's how it started. Basically, I got dropped off. So.
Right. So like literally physically dropped off at this orphanage at the age of 2, and you're just like, all right. Did you say goodbye? I mean, you're pretty young. Did you say bye to your parents, or did they even bring you?
I would have said bye, but I didn't know how to talk really. I was 2.
Yeah.
No, okay. Yeah, I was 2 years old, so I don't remember a lot of it, obviously. But I wouldn't say I said bye. No, they probably just said goodbye to me and went on their way. Eventually, they were gonna come back into my life, but we didn't know that at the moment. So
So were things at home like just not fit for a child, not safe really for a child to be growing up in? I mean, I that has to be why a lot of kids are in these children's homes and orphanages.
yeah, I think it was partially, mostly my dad at the moment. My mom was more MIA than him, but he just realized that life that he was gonna have me around, a life full of like maybe violence,
Hmm.
not against me, but just around me, and just drugs, and especially the fact that he probably knew how much he wasn't going to pay attention to us and what really was best for me, especially when someone brought up a Christian organization that helps kids, run by foreigners. It's something that probably he was like, oh well, it's probably best that I do this. It's probably best for him that this
Just seemed
happens.
like a better opportunity.
Yes, they had their things that they like to do for fun, but I think that in their mind they were thinking, well, this, I have to do it even though it sucks. I have to do it. Like,
So,
no.
so you were dropped off with your sister. I know your sister obviously, but for people who don't, her name is Flora. Um, and so how much older is she than you?
It's a good question. I gotta think about it. Should be about 4 years. I
Okay.
always get it messed up. Her birthday is actually tomorrow, so
Wow, that is super weird.
yeah, the 19th. So I guess I think it's tomorrow. But
So,
yeah,
okay, so I'm asking that question because let's say she's 4 years older, roughly, and you were two and you brought in, so she's at the age of six, obviously. Um, her memories, she probably remembers a little bit of maybe what was going around the house and maybe some of those things that weren't suitable for a child to be around. So, have you ever talked to her about that stuff? Like, does she ever tell you what happened?
well, we have talked a lot about our past. But the funny part about it is that she actually has a different father. So many times she wasn't necessarily, right around me. Not that she even remembers everything, every detail. And that's probably something I want to talk to her more about next time we talk.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I would assume she knows, she knew that that's probably not an environment that she would even want to be around as much.
Right.
Um, I know that we were both um very, I don't know if excited is the word, but just ready for this new place that accommodated us, and everyone was very Christian and very nice to us when we got there. So I know that we enjoyed that. We're
Right.
glad to have that.
I mean, yeah, obviously I came down, or me and, my family and I would come visit the orphan or the children's home because, we had family in the area and stuff with my our uncle being a missionary down there. So, but yeah, it was always super friendly, and I never really felt like um, I don't think I ever really comprehended where I was at that. I was pretty young,
Yeah.
I've gone 5 times, but I was still pretty young, and um, it was like I had fun. I thought the orphanage, or I call it the orphanage, whatever, children's home. I thought it was a blast. I used to be like, oh my god, like we get to play tag, run around. There's like all this bread in the kitchen. I used to love this. Do you remember the bread that I'm talking about?
Yeah, Diego would go in there and steal
Yeah,
some for you. You'd be like, is it okay? He's like, yeah, don't worry about it.
yeah. I used to
That
think that was
was
the
some
coolest thing. I had to hook up with like the cool kids
good bread.
at the children's home, but um, I don't think I really comprehended where I was, and
Right.
that is kind of crazy to look back and think like, there's a lot of that's a place of a lot of hardships and heartbreak for some of those kids in there, and so like I watch a show. I just watched this show on Netflix. Everyone's talking about the Queen's Gambit. Have you seen that?
I actually couldn't tell you that I've seen it. No.
It's a movie about this girl. She grew up in an orphanage, and she was like a prodigy chess player.
Mm.
I don't know, whatever. So we watched it, and I'm just thinking, like, in every movie that there's like an orphanage or a orphan, they show like their friend gets picked up by a family, and it's like that. Oh man, like they're the lucky one. I'm just no good over here. There's always that kind of a
Yeah.
storyline. And so I'm asking, like, did you see any of that, like when kids would find families to take care of them, or did you ever see that when eventually you were brought to the States? Were other kids like, oh man, like Josue's lucky, or he doesn't deserve it, I'm a better choice, like, was there any of that going on?
Um, there's a lot to that. Well, first of all, I think the second option you gave me is more accurate, because there wasn't many people that would go out of the home to families at the time, especially out of the country. I was the first person, or the first teenagers, you could say. There was a baby before me that was taken, but I was the first person to actually leave that home because of family wanting to add me to their family. Um,
Wow.
so, and yeah, and then Diego was actually the second one, in there, in between the first time I came by and then the second
So
time, right?
you think that do you think that you I mean, I don't want to say like being selected, but like you being, chosen to be brought to the US, and do you think that started like almost like a domino effect for that children's home? Like, did it bring something to the children's home? Because it seemed like after that it became more common. Is that what happened?
It definitely opened the doors to much more possibilities. I know you remember Leonel and Leonella and Paula. They were adopted, fully adopted, and they live actually down south right now, near Fort Lauderdale. They just
Wow.
moved there. So that happened. There's, Diego, like I said, there's other kids that got picked, by families. And I would say that there was definitely some other kids that were like, oh, like you said, well, why was he picked? Or, I'm not good enough, or stuff like that. I think that the feeling and the conversation is there, but in the end, everyone's smart enough to realize, like, it's not because of that.
Right.
People connect, or people make relationships that only they can make them with each other.
So
Like,
it wasn't quite as dramatic as what I'm picturing from the movies and shows.
it
Yeah.
was, to be honest, it was a huge change, as you already know. Even the first time I came permanently here, I was actually like feeling sick, like, because it was crazy, So it is a big transition, like maybe like in the movies, but it's not like a
Right.
huge thing in the home, like, oh, he's getting adopted. Like, no, it's not that, And not everyone goes to an amazing family. Not everyone. You still get the same challenges. You still get to grow and make mistakes and all that. So
Of course. So you talked about your transition to life in the States, and you said you got sick or something? Because
yeah.
I literally remember the day that you arrived in Rochester, New York, like to stay for good. And I don't remember what we were having for dinner, but I remember there was some sort of dinner, and I don't know if you ate something weird was going on. And I was like, but it would kind of make sense now if you were saying you didn't feel well.
Yeah,
But
I
what is
uh,
that about? Why did you feel that way?
well, there was a physical sickness, that's for sure. So I had like a stomach headache thing going on. It may be the plane ride, maybe many things, because I've never done it that much.
Yeah.
But I mean, the transition itself was also crazy because I had learned obviously English my whole life. Uh, I went to English speaking school in Peru, but coming to the United States and actually listening to people talk, and learning slang words and learning terms and idioms and different things that could, the culture and everything it's totally different. It was a huge shock. And then
Yeah.
I have this idea in my head of American foreigners. They all come, they're missionaries, they're super nice.
Right.
And I get here, and there's also some jerks, and there's also some ignorant people, and it's just like anywhere else.
Yeah.
um, uh, it took a while, but I got the hang of it eventually.
Of course. Yeah, I'd say so. So back to I want to touch base little bit more on, like, because to me, your whole story about being from this orphanage or children's home is just like, that's so crazy to me. Like, looking back, I'm like, I used to be around all these people who are going through such unique experiences living in this home together. And so, like, I want to try to have like an idea, or maybe paint a picture for the people listening, that to what was that like? Like, what was the home like? Like, what was every day? What did you do when you woke up? Or what, was it, how free was it? I don't know.
Yeah. Um, well, first of all, if anyone's trying to picture, what someone's life is like in the home, first of all, just think about the fact that we don't know any better. So when you're there, you didn't know what it was like otherwise, like how growing up as a kid, what you expect, what people expect a kid's life to be like. We were basically handed over responsibilities, chores that we had to do at the home. There would be a schedule. We'd wake up, there's breakfast, there's certain chores you have to do. If you had to go to school, you go to school. You do your best there. Come back, there's certain responsibilities you have to do, and the rest of the time you could just, hang out. You weren't really allowed to leave the place. It was a pretty big place. There was like a basketball court, a little soccer court, a pool. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff to do, but you weren't really allowed to leave the place. It's definitely very secure in that area. There wasn't a lot of freedom. I couldn't just say, oh, I'm going to go to my friend's house, or I'm going to spend the night here, stuff like that. That kind of stuff was just beyond anything that could happen. They didn't really let us do any of that.
Right.
It was very Christian centered. So every, Tuesday we'd have devotionals with the whole children's home. Sundays we'd all go to church. There was like this youth thing Sunday nights that always happened, and different days, like Fridays, every first Friday of the month or whatever.
Right.
We did certain things. There was also the first Sunday of every month, it was visitation day. So
Wow.
That's when all the parents would come and hang out with the family that they had, aunts, uncles, whatever, wanted to come visit the kids. We can go outside in the park and just hang out with them.
Can they come like any other day of the month, or?
They weren't allowed to. No.
Wow.
They weren't
really?
allowed to. Just one time a month they would come and hang out with us. No one else really made the trip to do that. I know sometimes random family sometimes came and you meet them at the door or something, but they weren't really allowed to do that. No.
Wow.
Only one day.
Did you ever go through that? Like, this is like another like classic movie situation where like they're waiting for the parent to come or parents to come, and they just don't show that day. It's like, oh, like,
yeah,
said
actually,
he'd be there.
yeah, that one is a real one. Yeah. Many times I was waiting because my mom kind of disappeared for the most part of my time there until I was like 13, 14 years old, which by that time I was already coming here to the United States. But my dad would come, or maybe make an effort to come on those days. And many, many times, yeah, my sister and I were, everyone came to visit, and we would just kind of wait and see if they would show up. And then it would be past the time where everyone's already leaving and everyone's gone, and we're just waiting at like the door right there. It was a metal door. I don't know how to explain it. It's just a gate, as a door. So we would just kind of, look through the gate, see if we can see someone coming. It's just kind of sad to hear, but like,
I was gonna say, this is heartbreaking, man.
This is the full experience. Yeah, you just kind of look in the horizon, like, oh, is someone coming? Like, oh, who could it be? Like, oh, maybe it's dad. Like, no,
Oh, man.
it's not dad. It's someone else. And then, sometimes throughout the year he wouldn't come for a long time, like sometimes 8 months or whatever. It was because who knows what he's doing, but when he did come, he would just, we would be super happy. Didn't know the word hate at all. We didn't know any resentment. We were just happy that he was there, and that happy that he made time for us. But
Yeah. I mean, looking back, it's like at least he had the sense to, and loved you guys enough to know what was better for you and put you in a place where you could be successful to an extent, like just out of harm's way at least. So it's like, a lot of these parents who may have struggled or criticized for it, at least some of them do have the sense to know what's best for their kid. And it sounds like your dad did that. So it's like, hey, props to him,
yeah.
No,
No,
but
yeah.
I think I saw your dad one. I mean, I may be totally making this memory up. You know how you have those weird memories that like you swear you were there, but like you weren't. This is like one of them, and I maybe, like I said, maybe I'm making it up, or maybe I was there during one of those visitation days or something.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, I swear I remember. I thought I saw your dad, or maybe it was when I remember when we were at the home. This is our last time we ever came to visit you. And I remember, mom and dad were in like I think it was upstairs where like the youth group would be. Is that where it was?
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
upstairs. And um, I remember I think you guys were up there talking. Mom,
I was
dad,
just
you.
about to mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, what's going on up there? And did your dad show up to that?
Yeah, that was actually because
Ah,
he actually had to come because he wanted to talk about the transition and if some because he had to sign paperwork.
right.
Him and my mom had to sign paperwork to let me leave the country and do this. Like, so that was another, like you said, he at least he knew what was best,
Right.
or what choice was best because they asked him if he was okay with that, and he was like, they asked me, and I was like, yeah, I'd like to do that. Like, so he was
So,
like, I can't, deprive you of that. So
right. Yeah, well, good for him for acknowledging that. And as far as you said your mom was more MIA, but she had to sign those papers. So did you see her
I
one
did
last
not
time?
see her. No, actually, the director of Kids Alive, which is the home there, and my dad actually went over to try to find her a couple of times. They didn't have a good address, and who knows what she was up to. And I know that one time they found her, but I think she was like under some substance.
Right.
Who knows what it was? But she kind of just said like, come back some other time. So they ended up getting, signature permission from her. Um,
Wow.
and yeah, so they were, yeah,
They
it's
were,
crazy.
yeah, I mean, so you, okay, so you make it out of this orphanage, and how was saying goodbye to your sister?
It was, to be honest, many of the feelings I would feel back then were not the true feelings that I would know, like, I don't know how to explain this. Like, I was a kid. I was more excited to this new chapter
Right.
than really, like worried about what I'm feeling or what other people felt about me. It's maybe not, maybe it's kind of selfish, but at the same time, like it is what it is. That's what my motto had been. Like, whatever comes your way, you deal with it.
So it's almost like you didn't know what to feel.
Right. Besides being excited for a new
Right.
chapter, being around like, a different culture, a culture that I actually grew up with technically, in being surrounded by the people at the home, missionaries, and in my school, ton of American people teaching me the regular classes in school. So I was very excited to be part of all that.
Um, what was your perception? Like, what did you think of America? You're around it all the time, you said. So obviously you're comfortable with it, but like actually flying there and being in the United States, like, was that like, man, one day, like thinking like New York City, big buildings? Are you like, like what was your kind of your thought toward like what was the USA to you?
Um, the USA was the land of the free, but
Yeah.
it was in my head filled with all these nice people, like I said earlier, like all these nice people that are, kind Christian missionaries, upholding the morals of the Bible and everything that goes along with that, like that was what USA meant to me in Peru and while I was coming here. I didn't once grasp the fact that like, oh, it's a land of opportunity. Like, okay, like I haven't even looked for opportunity in Peru, so I don't, that came later. I understood what, what a great economy it has compared to the rest of the world and all that stuff. But in the moment, it was more about, all these people that I'm going to meet, and just a new adventure, opportunity, or, just something new in my life.
Yeah.
That's
That's gotta
exhilarating
be
on its
that's
own.
gotta be a cool feeling to be like, wow, like things are about to get a lot better. like almost you're almost guaranteed, like you're guaranteed all this opportunity, and it's like, wow, like this is gonna be cool. I don't know. Not a lot of people feel that. I mean, and it's cool that you've actually got to feel that experience.
Yeah, it was very exhilarating, that's for sure. Like,
So okay, so you whatever, you get to the States finally. And so where do you move? Obviously, you moved to Rochester, New York. What was that like? I mean, that's pretty north in the U.S. That's pretty like this isn't one of your big cities. Yeah,
right.
tiny little village.
Yeah, I look, like I said, it was a blank slate, so I don't, I didn't have any expectations besides like the kind of people that I was gonna meet. Um, Obviously, the town was awesome. It was a little town with a bunch of little things to do there. I loved Abbott's, that's for sure. And even the first time I went, I used to get cheeseburgers and ice cream or custard all the time. I liked, I was mostly like almost automatically doing what Johnny was doing.
Yeah,
That's
our older.
brother.
Well, you're younger.
Yeah, he's like the
He's the
same
middle
age.
brother now. Here, this is weird.
Yeah. So I was like automatically just kind of butting into his life.
Hmm.
He's all about the skateboarding, so I would try to skateboard and um, do whatever events came to town, like the carnival and
Yeah.
a bunch of other stuff. I mean, dealing with the cold because I wasn't used to um, the weather getting so cold in a couple months. I came in July, somewhere around there, but eventually it started getting pretty chilly, something that I'm not used to at all. So that
Hmm.
was fun little experience there.
And you were 17 when you got to the U.S. Is that how old you were?
Um,
Or 16?
I was freshly 16.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I was freshly 16. Another thing we did was also had to automatically visit the Aquinas Institute that I was supposed to go to. I had to go find out, uniforms and all this stuff for school, go in there and get to know the teachers and talk to the counselor. And it was just crazy. Like, I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah. So did it all seem really fast? Just quick things thrown at you. You're doing all this and that.
Yeah, thankfully, obviously, our parents did a lot of the work and they were able to give me this opportunity. So I was dealing with more like just visiting the place, not really. They did all the paperwork and stuff like that. So I'm
You just
just
have to
looking at,
go.
yeah, I just looking at the soccer team and trying to be part of that. Looking at other stuff that I could be involved with in the school, but really not knowing how to act, not trying to open my mouth too much.
Yeah.
um, just kind of going with emotions and feeling nervous.
Yeah. It's
But
very, very natural. I feel like I get a little taste of that every time I go to a new country and do what I'm doing now.
yeah,
And it's like I get there and there's like they got to show me where the store is. They got to show me where we're going to be practicing. This is where you get this. And so I feel that like, and I don't really know what to say. I don't really talk much. I'm quiet.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, I can never, that doesn't compare to it's not on your scale. I mean, that's a huge difference. living somewhere so like routinely for 16 years and then moving to the United States. And I don't know, that's just definitely, I couldn't imagine that culture shock. So
Yeah, it was definitely different learning that now you have more, now some things actually can happen for you. Like, not that it couldn't happen back then, but you were so limited then. You were so limited with your experiences too. But now it's like you have the same opportunity as like you, or the same opportunity as any other kid. Not only because it's a different country, but because I'm with a family now, and I don't have much limitations now. I just get to go to school and do what do whatever I want to do, make my own decisions, and try to become better at anything I do. So it was fun.
so how did you come about making friends? I mean, when did you finally start opening your mouth and being comfortable? And was that were people, I mean, I guess you said you went to an pretty American school in Peru, but like was there people who gave you a hard time, or like, how, you know what I mean? Like,
I wouldn't say there's a lot of people that gave me a hard time. There's definitely some people that were just rude, but it's because they were rude to anyone.
yeah, that's true.
But not that I knew it back then, but no, there's plenty of people that were curious about, my background and my language and just the culture difference. They had questions, and for the most part, everyone was very friendly. And I definitely could have been friendlier and more talkative, but I just kind of was a quiet, reserved person. Just naturally, I wanted to stay defensive, so people don't let anyone really too close to me. I ended up realizing, like, well, everyone has like a certain past. Like, everyone has a tough past in some way or another, and you learn from it, and you become the person that you are today. Like, you can either be a jerk because you want to be a jerk, or you can be friendly, open person to anyone, regardless of what's happened to you. So there was a lot of people that helped me a lot, and I was very good friends with them. And there are some people that just decided to kind of bring you down. Maybe, because of your background, maybe they don't, there was people that didn't like Hispanics, or I thought less of them up in New York. And there was those people, and I didn't really let it bother me that much, but it did kind of quiet me down when I was around them in high school, because it kind of, I was afraid of being embarrassed or something like that,
Yeah.
by them. So, there was some people, but for the most part,
Yeah,
everyone was nice.
I feel like you got pretty comfortable in high school though, because you were dyeing your hair bleach, and
Oh, yeah.
you were pretty. I feel like not afraid to be yourself eventually there in high school.
No, yeah. I remember that.
What was that
What's
for?
funny,
Was that for swimming?
the bleach was just for the heck of it, unfortunately.
Oh, I thought your
No,
whole swimming team was doing it or something.
no, my friend, me and my friend Matt Dank, may he rest in peace.
Yeah.
We actually decided to just do it, and I was just like, oh, whatever, like, we'll get some attention, and then it's just fun. It's just for fun. And he actually didn't go through with it, but I did it. So obviously, the story. Danielle helped me. Danielle's our other sister. She's older. um, she helped me bleach my hair, and I got it bleached, and I just had it like that for a long time. Surprisingly, that wasn't the first time I did something weird like that. The other thing, my freshman year when I joined the soccer team, everyone had to shave their head like bald.
Oh yeah.
It's a
Remember
team
that.
bonding experience, and I was very, very like particular with my hair. I didn't really want to do that at all, but I was like, you know what, let's just do it. It's for the soccer team. Everyone's doing it. Some people convinced me to do it. I had a couple girls that convinced me to do it. So I was like, you know what? All right, let's do it.
Did
made the
everyone like
team.
do it on the same day?
Yep, they had a whole party at the coach's house, and they just shaved one by one in line to shave people's heads.
Did the coach do
Like
it?
that. I can't remember that. I don't think he did, but he
Uh,
already had like a shaved head.
okay, I was gonna say that's kind of weird if your coach just has like this head of hair and he's like, "Everyone, come here. I'm shaving everyone's head." Like, it's like he should be the same as you guys.
Yeah, no, he had a shaved head. He didn't need to do it,
Maybe
but
he wanted you guys to all like be more like him.
I think the only maybe disadvantage I had was that I was still trying to, just like anyone else really, but I was trying to get to know like who I am, what I'm all about, like. And I kept testing these different areas in high school, and they didn't all work out really. Like, I was just kind of not as confident as one should be. But
Yeah, that's kind
you
of
know,
interesting. Interesting way to put it. You had to like try go through all these trial and errors to see which like who you really were, and that's something
right.
by high school we kind of have figured out to an extent, you know. So it's like it's I don't know. I never put that in perspective. Um,
Well,
well, what?
well, the funny part about that is that many of those people that I see now, like they I can I've learned enough to see past what type of people they were. They were just putting up a front, they were this and that, but everyone was really at the same level as I was, but only I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't aware that everyone's trying to still learn or be how to be themselves, learn what they're all about in high school. I thought I was this kind of held back kid that didn't have the experiences that everyone else had, when really I had maybe twice or three times the experiences, just not the same ones.
Yeah,
So
seriously.
come the time that I get to understand all this, I like to think that I'm very far ahead of a lot of people that are just now figuring out what they're doing, like maybe after high school and college. Like, just because you did all of that doesn't mean you know what you want to do.
Right.
I like to think that I'm very past that, like,
Yeah.
um so that's a plus. I have no doubts now in the person that I am.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
that's good for you. A lot of people never really figure it out, unfortunately.
oh yeah. And the crazy part, is obviously, our dad.
I do.
He had a big role in it. The fact that I got to work with him, made me learn a lot about how to overcome things, and how to just realize that really we're all learning. Like, so eventually I become this very confident person that I never thought I could be. And a lot of people that I thought were confident ahead in life are really just figuring it out and kind of lost. Like, so all these experiences I had when I was a kid, they, and a lot of the upbringing and example from our parents, like, definitely came through and helped a lot.
Hmm.
So nowadays there's really not much holding me back, not much.
Your potential is limitless.
Yeah, that's
No,
crazy.
but really, I mean, yeah. Soon, I mean, so what do you do now, Dad? You got
Oh, I mean, I do everything that needs to be done. We have a used car dealership for anyone that's listening. Um, so
go ahead,
I
give a little
handle
get a little ad right there.
29.99 cars, everyone.
Anyone in the Port Orange
Uh,
area?
yeah, come by. Um, nope, just anything from sales to as much as cleaning any car that needs to be cleaned. Anything to help the business make more revenue really is what I'm doing. I'll answer any phone calls. I'll help customers out there. I'll even replace struts if you need me to. Parts in cars. Whatever I got to do to keep the flow going is what I'm doing at the lot every day. Sometimes I sit around, but it doesn't happen often.
So I'm assuming when you came to the States, you weren't like, one day I want to have a very successful car dealership and maybe have multiple dealerships and bring in a lot of money doing that. Like, what do you, obviously you didn't picture yourself doing this, but did you picture yourself doing?
Um, that's
Or like, what do
that's
you
a good
still want to
question.
do? Is this what you want to do? Like to
Well, that's
kind
the
of,
thing. I could have named many things back then that I thought I wanted to do. I think one of them was like a biochemist one time. I think
oh,
I
wow.
said like hotel management or something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what the heck I was talking about, to be honest. Like you think, you were raised, you want basketball, you got basketball, and you knew you wanted it. Johnny wanted filming, skating, and he's got it. Every one of you guys seems to get what you knew you wanted, which is great. I didn't know what the heck I wanted. And
Right.
I think sales are what I never knew I wanted, because I want the I want the revenue to equal to come in consequence to the effort that you put into work. So
Right.
obviously, if you put more work into this type of job, you're going to get more back, naturally. And that's really what I didn't know I wanted, that I want now. Like I want to, the more I work, the more I'm going to get. Like,
Yeah.
and that could be in a car dealership. That could be in anything else that presents itself that seems to be something I can do. Um, I couldn't tell you one thing that I wanted to do back then that I regret like not pursuing.
Right.
Maybe besides music, but I'm still pursuing that. So
Yeah. So
that's like a hobby on the side.
where are you at? I wanted to ask you about that. Where are you at in your, I feel like you were really big into music, like when we lived in New York, and then I don't really remember you playing it a ton. Our first couple years in Florida, but now recently I've seen you've been doing it a lot more and like singing publicly and stuff like that. Like what?
Yeah, because I was into music and playing guitar since I was a kid, but I never really, I just kind of reached like a little plateau and never really searched for more knowledge or practiced more. And it all changed actually when I met my now fiance,
Ooh,
Noelle.
yeah, newly
Yeah,
fiancéed right there.
yeah, yeah. Um, it kind of, when they were playing, her and her brother play live. They're called the Rasta Bears, and kind of opened up, not to take anything again away from what they're doing, what any musician does, but it kind of opened up like the idea of like how easy it was to actually perform. Maybe for me, because I already knew music and I already knew guitar, and how simple it was, just practice and you know get good music going on. Just try what you can. Don't be embarrassed of anything that you make, and you just start doing it. So they gave me some chances after the show sometimes to mess around and play, and I really like it. And I try to compose my own music. Kind of like an acoustic, just slow type music. Not something you would party hard to, but something you'd listen if you're
Yeah.
looking at a lake in the morning or something, or if you're in love, or maybe heartbroken. Who knows? I'll set an
It's
album.
emotional music.
Yeah, so it's definitely something I enjoy doing. Something I've learned a lot from talking, like I said, to my fiance and her brother and other friends now that play music. We actually go to his house, my friend Josh's house, and he has like a little studio room, and we make music that actually sounds pretty good. So it's very exciting to do stuff like that, and especially when you already have a full-time job and you're working hard, and then on the side you can actually
You
do
saying?
something you love.
Are you saying you're in a band?
No, it's more like an acoustic, I guess you could say duo, but not, we don't meet every, week or anything like that. We just kind of send each other recordings of ideas. We build on them, and then one day we meet and just record it. Our friend does all the editing in his computer and adds music and becomes a song. something that I can listen
I want to hear one of these final copies, these edited,
to.
finished
Yeah,
songs.
it just started, and I'd like to have a few before I like just show you guys. Like,
Yeah.
they're pretty cool. I think you guys would enjoy them in the right setting.
Do
But
you,
yeah, I'm definitely excited about all that. Yeah.
do you sing in Spanish at all?
Yeah, I haven't experimented that much with that.
No.
My fiance, me and her, we don't say that word, but I'm
What,
saying it
fiance?
for yeah.
Why not?
It's just something that we don't want to say, like not because of the meaning. It's just like kind of like a corny word, I
Oh
guess.
yeah, it's very
Right.
cliche. My fiance. Yeah.
But I already forgot what you asked me.
Crap. What did I
but,
ask you? I don't even
but
remember. It was about you singing, singing in Spanish. Yeah.
oh, Spanish. Yeah, she likes it when I'll play like a cover of Despacito, and I
Oh
actually
man.
played it live a couple of times, and people seem to enjoy it. So yeah, I sing a few songs in Spanish, but I don't really play it a lot. Like it comes down more to like how much I practice. Really, some weeks I slack off, and some weeks I'm on it. But Spanish is definitely something I'm looking to explore because obviously there's a lot of people that speak Spanish here and a lot of
Yeah. A lot of
music.
places that speak Spanish, dude.
Yeah. No.
Speaking of Spanish, being in Spain, there's this lady who works at the store right in town. It's a Chinese family. I don't know. They may be Japanese, honestly. I just know they're Asian of some sort, and they are watching shows all the time, these Chinese shows or whatever, and they own this little store, and I for some reason feel like they speak English also. I'm like they're Chinese, but they probably speak a little English. And I'm like, crap. I'm in Spain. Of course they don't know English. They speak a little Spanish. And to me that was so weird. So I walk up to the cashier and I'm trying to buy something and she's saying something to me in Spanish. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying. I'm like I had no clue what she wasn't pointing at anything or she just started talking to me. And I'm like, I don't understand. But I thought that was so weird. I was like, I feel like this lady should know some English for some reason. Like,
There's nothing that.
nothing. It's been a struggle, man. And I think about you often. I think about you and Sorelli's and Sol and Shia. And I'm like, man, they would be thriving over here. It would be everything would be so easy for them just because they know Spanish. And being bilingual, man, that's such an advantage. Like in a lot of
Yeah,
ways.
it's definitely come through a lot in our, in this car dealership and the business we had before, and any of Dad's or Sorelli's, light when their family comes, I can talk to them. Like, it's great. I'm afraid of forgetting it, but I don't think that's gonna happen unless I hit my frontal lobe hard enough or something.
I was gonna say, I think you're at a point now where you got it. Like
It's very solidified, thankfully. Yeah. So it is a great advantage, definitely. I'm thankful for it.
You use it much more here than you did when we lived in New York, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think you actually would have forgotten it if we never moved?
I don't think so. I think I would have found a way to speak Spanish somehow, because that happens anywhere. And when I went to high school here in my junior year, I ended up finding two Hispanic friends. Like they were what I was comfortable talking to. They understood many of the things that was going on with me. Like I could speak to them in Spanish or English, and you kind of find that when I don't know if you found someone to talk to in English, like an American friend. Like,
yeah, luckily my roommate's from the UK, but it really is the best feeling in the world when you can finally speak like just fluently and comfortably, and I know exactly what you're talking about. Anytime when I was in Austria as well, I was so tired of hearing the German language that when I would hear anybody speak to me or like on the court speak English or something, I would just You know what I mean? Like, or I mean, not so much actually in Austria, but when I was in Italy for a period there, I was in a really small town and nobody spoke English. And that when that one person would say a few words in English, I was like, oh, no way! Like, it's like me. They, I can talk to somebody, and I would just talk their ear off. It's a total stranger.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, you hear someone Spanish, like, oh, especially from one of the first people I met was from Bolivia, which is just south of Peru.
Yeah.
So I automatically started harassing him, like, not necessarily harassing, but if you ask him, he'd tell you that I never shut up. I just kept talking. Like he was more like he was like a year older than me. This is Gary. You've met him.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't really want to talk to someone under his grade, or probably, but
Mm-hmm.
I saw right through it. So eventually, we became pretty good, one of my best friends, really. So
Yeah.
that was very fun finding someone that can speak Spanish, especially in Florida, like you said. So there's a lot of people that speak Spanish.
Yeah,
So.
especially when you're dealing the cars and stuff, you can make it's a whole nother avenue to the revenue you're talking about, really.
Yep, it helps a lot. We just got someone from Colombia into a car today, and it was easy to just talk to them and not have any trouble with the language barrier.
I have a few South American teammates right now.
No one from Peru, I'm guessing.
No one from Peru.
They don't know basketball.
One's from Argentina and one is from Ecuador. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is Ecuador a basketball country?
I couldn't tell you, to be honest. Last time when I played basketball in Peru, I was pretty good actually, but I was a kid, so I don't know. I don't know much about basketball anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, we had you in that men's league this summer or
Yeah, I
last
never
summer.
got a call back.
Hey,
I've
I
been waiting.
think that was my last game in that summer league. I would have invited you again. You
That's okay.
just, it's not your natural sport. That's for sure.
No, I know. I'm amazed how I'm not embarrassed about that moment. That should be very embarrassing to basketball players.
I mean, I'm probably worse at soccer than you are at basketball.
That's a good comparison. Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, it's totally not your element. Yeah. So
like, I can't imagine going out and like, I mean, I know that it was only in this little church league, men's league thing we were in, but like, there were some people there watching, and I'm like, I don't know if I would do that. Like, go try to play in a men's soccer league with people in the stands. Like, I don't know. It'd be a little.
All right. I know you needed a player, so I was like, yeah, let's go. Let's do it. My Jordans on.
Dad had been asking me to invite him to
that. Yeah, it was the last game.
I can play. And
you definitely do better than me.
Yeah, I think that's what he said too.
Yeah, it's just fine. Like I said, I'm not ashamed here.
Yeah.
I spend my time playing. The only sport is beach volleyball, and then I surf. So.
Have you been surfing?
I actually have not recently. I'm actually looking for another board because the one I have is too big. But I paddle out when I can. Daytona is not very consistent with waves, but it's one of the best exercises that I could possibly ask for. So I have to go out there when I can.
Yeah, you don't go to the gym anymore. The one.
No, yeah. I know I'm thinking about it again, because the times are asking for much more from me. Yeah. This body can't handle that stuff anymore, but I'm thinking about going to LA Fitness actually next month. So next time you see me, you might see me a little different.
You're gonna have a little transformation?
Yeah, we're hoping for that.
Yeah.
Noel and I. Just kidding.
So yeah, man. So how did you get into volleyball and the beach vibe?
It is the sport that I never knew I would love until I was in my junior year, first time in Spruce Creek High School, and I had an elective. I had already chosen my electives. One of them was volleyball, and I knew it for sure. Somehow they put me into tennis, right? And I'm in the gym looking at all these people, random kids, like, and then I'm like, why wasn't it volleyball? I was like, whatever. Like, tennis is fine. But then I look over, and there's like at least 5 to 6 hot girls and gonna play volleyball. And both me and Gary switched to volleyball.
That's funny.
So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely getting switched. Like, you kidding me? Like, um, so I switched to volleyball, and I ended up being good at it and playing and having a lot of fun during gym class. So I ended up that same year, they were having a semi-serious men's league for the school. So I joined it, and I ended up being the setter. I played both years, junior and senior year. I did really good. And then after that, there was nothing else. Men's volleyball is not really
Yeah.
something that, you go to school for. So I just ended up playing beach volleyball, and I ended up loving it way more than having a whole 6-team
Right.
indoor league, type deal. I like the partners and just having a partner and playing and having to be all around good at everything, defense, offense, setting,
Mm-hmm.
all of it. So I just kept playing. I became the beach volleyball player,
That's
for most
cool.
people.
It's
Yeah,
hard.
it's
It's a
fun.
hard sport to be. There's like a lot more elements to it than people realize. How
There is a lot.
the set, like the ball can't spin when you're like setting it or whatever. It's like, dang,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
tough. Like I never realized that.
yeah. There's a lot of timing involved, just like many sports. It's a lot like tennis and ping pong, just with little different set of rules, but the strategy is basically the same. Um, you want to trick your opponent. You go somewhere, but you go the opposite way. Like,
Yeah.
different things. They're different things.
Well, yeah, that's something that I struggled to understand, I guess, completely in the moment because when you brought me that one time I came and played,
Yeah.
I just like it didn't click ever. Like I felt so weird out there. I felt like everything I did was illegal. I was like, yeah, I would score somehow, and I'd be like, I think I did something wrong, and they're just not telling me. Like,
No, it'd tell you. If anything, it would only be like sets. But like you, you played good. I think you played good. I was hoping you like also like somehow fell in love with it. Like, just because with your athleticism and your height, like you could be a real like menace to many people. And I told you about obviously Phil Dahlhauser
mhm,
starting out as a basketball player in mainland high school, and then when he graduated, he just started playing beach volleyball, and he was like, "Oh, whoa, like I can
yeah,
do this." He started hustling people at the Hilton court that we play at. Not hustling, but betting people money and getting money back because he's good. And now
yeah.
he's one of the best players ever. I was hoping you were that story, but I'm also
Sorry.
glad you got to go to different countries and play basketball like you've
Yeah,
always dreamed.
I'm a disappointment. I wasn't the next Phil Hellhauser.
A big letdown.
But it's fun. And, like hey man, maybe I am the next Phil. I gotta give it some more time. Gotta keep trying.
Yeah.
No, I had a good time though. Goss showed up. That was fun.
Oh yeah, I remember them. Yeah, it was a fun night. I definitely like. I don't think you did bad at all. So, um, you
Yeah,
probably wouldn't. My friends weren't playing to a full extent either, but it was definitely
yeah,
fun.
definitely. I definitely felt weird out there doing that.
Yeah.
So what do you got going on? What's the future hold for you? You just got engaged. Is there a wedding gonna happen? Obviously, things are weird right now with everything
Yeah.
locking
Uh,
down or whatever.
we're basically hoping to do a wedding like next year around this time, maybe like October. Maybe get married before that, just
Dang.
with paperwork, like legally. But we're not sure because of you know COVID and whatnot, and we're doing it in Ohio, so we got to figure out who can make it over there,
You better schedule at a time that I can be there.
and I hope you can be there.
Come
You
on,
better
man.
be there.
Come on. Because there's a few months that like I'll be home. You just never know. August, it's like some leagues start up in August, some are in September. This year's been super weird because of COVID. So it's like you just never know when these leagues are going to start up. So, like, I miss Brian's wedding.
Um, Brian from Rochester?
Yeah, Geringer.
Geringer, yeah. Huh.
Yeah, I missed
That
his
sucks.
wedding because had to come to Spain to start preseason. So I'm like, Goss. Luckily, I didn't miss. He made sure I was going to be at his, so he did his in August, early August. But yeah, I'd be pissed if I couldn't go to your wedding, dude.
Yeah, you would be pissed because you're gonna miss out.
I know.
I'll understand, but you're gonna be pissed.
You're right. We're on the same page here. I am gonna be pissed if I can't be
No,
there.
obviously I'll be mad too, but I'll understand. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly when the date. Like I said, she's looking to do October, so
Right.
that doesn't work out. And but that's what the future is holding. The most recent future, but
The most recent future.
yeah,
That's
yeah. Does
interesting.
that make
But
sense?
I think it does, but it's very weird. It's probably we could go
The
deep
most
into that.
recent future.
We don't have to.
Let's not get into that. No, yeah, that not big plans really. Just work hard, build up the business as best as we can, have fun in the meantime, and nothing big in the recent future.
Yeah. Well, if a year is in the recent future, then you getting married, that's pretty big.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's pretty big. Yeah, yeah.
That's like huge. That's like one of the biggest moments in your life.
Yeah, it's gonna be a crazy celebration. Like you're gonna be there. You're gonna have to be
Better
there.
be there, man. I'm telling you. I will be so stressed if I'm over here in Europe and I just know, oh, I'm sitting here in my apartment or I'm at practice knowing they're at freaking Josué's wedding. I'd be going
I'll
crazy.
send you snaps.
Oh man, yeah, I'd be so stressed out. I'm actually gonna be home. I get home on my birthday, December
Yeah,
20th.
yeah. I know hopefully we can do some hard rock visitation.
Yeah, I'll be home.
Hard rock.
I'll be home for a good amount. I got like just under 2 weeks home. So
That's very exciting.
yeah,
Dad, I know Dad's excited about it. So
yeah,
we've
it's
been
gonna be.
trying. I don't know if I should tell you. Actually, never mind. I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, I probably already know what it is, but you know what? Let's just send it there.
You don't. I'll tell you right now. You don't know what it is, and that's okay.
I do. I do know what it is, and I just believe me at that. And
It-
I hope
it-
I don't. I hope I don't.
you believe me that you don't.
All right.
You
No,
can think you know, but you
but
don't.
yeah, I at this point I don't. So anyways, yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I'm really I was excited to have this conversation. There's some questions and stuff I had never really gotten to know the answer to, and glad I do know. I do know now. You've been a really good big brother to me, and I remember the day where I found out you were coming to the States, and that was like such a cool. I mean, I remember because like we were saying earlier, everyone was upstairs. You guys were talking. Our parents, your birth father, and I'm like, hey, I think I was talking to like Andrew or Steven, and I said, hey, what's going on up there? And they're like, do you want Josue to come live with you? Like, and I was like, yeah. They're like, all right, well, he's coming. I was like, no way. I was like, no.
I didn't know
way.
that.
Yeah, and they're like, or because you had came to the States for like that little like 2 week
Yeah.
deal or whatever, and so they're like, do Josue's gonna come to the States? I was like, oh, okay, it's gonna be another one of those 2 weeks. And they're like, no, like forever. And I was like, what? I was like, no way. Like, we're gonna have someone else living in the house. Like, this is gonna be crazy. Like it's gonna be like a sleepover. Like, so
Yeah, you're very, very energetic back then.
yeah, man, I was hyped for anything new. I was like, I'm gonna stay up late. Like, I was That was crazy. But yeah, man, I just want to say thank you for being you. Thank you for coming on here and sharing some of that stuff. And we, I'll text you later or something.
No, yeah. Thanks for having me. It's a privilege. I want to come back some point when I got something else to say.
For
That's
sure.
for sure.
For sure. And maybe the recent future is exciting enough. No, but yeah,
I'll
for
make
sure.
sure.
We'll definitely got to have you back on. This was fun. So
Awesome. Thanks for
all
having
right,
me.
Josué.
Ben's Friends Podcast.